What's up you guys, Tomy Shaw here, and on today's topic, should we expect hyperinflation? Okay, first of all, what is it? Well, we need to define what is normal inflation. It is between 1 and 3%. We try to keep it at 2%. Anything above 10% should be considered hyperinflation, okay? There's two ways to look at inflation. You could look at it through price increase, or you could look at it through the decrease in value of the currency. Okay, either way, how you're looking at it, it comes to the same point of view, okay? Some people understand it better through the price increase, and some people understand it through the devaluation of the dollar. So, the inflation is usually considered in two types. A lot of people don't know this, but there's two main types of inflation. You could have inflation in assets, the financial market, okay? This is one type of inflation. When we're looking at inflation, we're looking at the economy, because this is where consumer spends. They're spending on food, they're spending on services, and they're spending on luxury items. This can be cars, watches, anything that's not really necessary to live, okay? So the first thing that we're looking at, can we expect inflation in assets, or what has happened in the last month? Well, we experienced deflation because indices went down by about 30%. That's deflation. So in this case, cash is king. Cash can be trash, but in this case, cash is king. Because if you can buy right now, you're buying at a discount at 30%. When a hamburger comes on sale, you're happy. The same thing with stocks. You should be happy when it comes on sale. So lately, houses have been going up, equities have been going down, bonds are going up because interest rates are going down. They're reverse correlation. When interest costs or interest rates go down, bonds go up. Now, let's look in the economy. Right now, food is going up at about 3% because the demand is very high, especially in grocery stores, because we're seeing a lot of demand. People are stuck at home, they have nothing to do, they eat more, and when you got nothing to do and you're watching a movie, you're always gonna eat more. So, services. People are not going out to get anything. So services, there's a good chance that services might go down a little bit. Unless you really need your roof to be fixed or something, you're gonna wait until the situation clears up. The same thing with luxury cars. You're not going to change your car right now, so there's a good chance that Mercedes-Benz cars will cost less right now, because if there's less demand, prices are going down. So let's get back to the subject. Should we expect hyperinflation? Well, I don't expect hyperinflation in houses, equities, or maybe bonds. We might get some, but that doesn't concern the consumer. Let's look at the economy. Where can we expect hyperinflation to get in? Well, it depends of what's going to happen, okay? Because right now we're having a supply shock. There's a lack of services, there's a lack of products being made, so there's a supply shock, and right now they're thinking about putting money in the system. If you give consumers money, too much money, I'm talking about too much, okay? Of course, you still have to give them a little bit because they need the basics to live on. But if you give too much, people won't value that money, and you'll have all that money chasing products and services, which there will be a lack of. And if you put that in the economy, what's going to happen? It could result in hyperinflation. Because if you only have a lack of products and services out there, and you give people a whole bunch of money, what's going to happen? People won't care about that money. So if it costs $15, but then you won't care if it costs $16. So that's why I see we could expect hyperinflation if they don't play their cards right. Okay, remember, and if the supply shock gets corrected, then that won't happen. And if we give the right amount of money to people that are in need, then we don't need to be afraid of hyperinflation. Okay, so let's look at this again. What is it? It's normal between 1 and 3%, above 10% considered hyperinflation. There's two ways to look at inflation, either through price increase, things are costing more in the future, or the currency loses value. I prefer the second method because it really helps me to understand that not because there's a face value of $100 that it's worth $100. It loses value through time. And there's two main types of inflation. There's asset inflation, which is good because that's why we don't consider it as inflation for the consumer, because if you're getting richer, that's not inflation. Okay, when your house increases in value, when your stocks increases in value, your bonds, your real estate, that's not considered consumer inflation. And a lot of people wonder why. It's because they're calculating according to how much it's costing you. If you can replace it with something that is cheaper, for them it's not considered inflation because you have a choice. If you have a choice between an IBM and another computer that's worth $500 and one is worth $2,000, and before it was $500, even though the IBM went up 4 times, since you still have a choice between having one computer and the other, they're not going to consider that inflation because you could always choose the brand that has less value and still do the same thing. Alright, so we might get a supply shock. There might be a lot of money in the market, so supply shock goes down, lots of demand. If you reduce supply, lots of demand, prices increases. How much? If there's too much money in the system and not enough supply, then we could expect hyperinflation in the consumer goods. We're not going to see it in the luxury items because right now people are afraid. When you're afraid, you don't feel like driving a Mercedes-Benz, because if you see somebody that has a hard time, you're gonna think that he wants something against you. So the same thing in equities. Equities have been going down. We just witnessed deflation in equities. We've seen inflation in bonds, houses. So if you like this kind of information, please subscribe, please leave a like button, and I'll be seeing you on the next video.